everybody. Thank you so much for joining us here on Daytime. You're probably looking for the one and only Derek Fage. Well, he's off today and tomorrow. I'm stepping into those big shoes. I know we got lots of great guests for you today. You're going to want to stay with us, of course, for the whole hour. We're starting off today, kicking off our hour with my dear friend, Julie Beun's here. Hi, Julie.
Hi, honey.
How are you?
I'm so well. It's so nice out.
It's so beautiful.
So beautiful.
And Julie, of course, is from CAA, Director of Communications and PR for CAA North and East Ontario.
That's right.
That's a big job.
That is a big job. A ton of fun. Love it every day.
For sure. So you have lots of great messages for us about travel, because I'm thinking about travel. You're thinking about travel. Everyone is right now, because we've been kind of locked up for a while, Julie. So if we're going to be traveling, what advice do you have for us?
Well, despite the awesome weather we're having right now, of course, March break is coming up. Everybody wants to spend, well, let's just jumpstart spring by spending it down south somewhere. So where do you go with the kids? And, you know, there are so many options that you can go, and last minute options too, which is, you know, good news for some people who are like, wait, what? It's March break already?
Exactly.
So, you know, we're talking about 5-day cruises are a possibility for families, right? Where they have kids clubs and, you know, stuff for the parents, and never shall the twain meet. They can be held apart for the whole trip, or, you know, as much together time. Of course, one of my favorite March break trips was driving down to DC with the kids and hitting all the Smithsonian museums. You know, you stay in Virginia, you book your hotel over there, and then you just take the train in. It was fantastic. And the museums are free. So, you know, you can't walk past that. And of course, there's last minute flights down to Florida, down to, you know, wherever. There's a lot of options, but the 100% rule that you have to do is to book through a travel consultant.
It's so important.
So
and
important.
Like, I think about my history with CAA. Because my dad, Julie, his love came in the form of a CAA membership, right? And so, you know, he wasn't a gift giver, but I know that he was giving me something so much better than a CD or a sweater. He was giving me that safety net if he couldn't be there, right? So when I think about CAA, I'm going to age myself. I think about TripTics.
Right.
I think about how I used to drive to Florida and follow those big maps.
I think we all did that.
But CAA has just become so much more. Like, we could honestly fill the whole hour about everything that CAA is doing. And when I think about travel now, I got to be honest with you, I think about insurance, and I never used to.
Right. Well, we had this conversation on air about your trip with your daughter.
Yes.
Right. And I was like, girlfriend, get travel insurance.
100%.
So it's one of those things where it's not like super sexy to talk about, but you know what? If you have to cancel for any reason, your kids get RSV, which is going around just before your March break travel, and you can't go anywhere, or you have to have a trip interruption, or there's something else that's happening in your world, that travel insurance, like, let's just not even talk about the lineups at the airport, lost baggage, missed flights, all the rest of it. Travel insurance is there, and it's so necessary. It's like the same thing as having your driver's license these days, in my opinion.
For sure. And I think everybody thinks that they can just kind of book travel, but there's actually way more involved. And unfortunately, sometimes you learn that after a bad experience. So walk me through. I'm going to phone up CAA, talk about travel. What's going to happen?
I'll be like, hello, Sam. This is Julie from CAA. So, you know, you make a really good point, especially if you're doing last minute things, right? There's a lot of stuff that you should be thinking about that if you give yourself 6 months to plan your trip, maybe you do think about, but that's where a travel agent comes in and will actually have access to the kinds of things. Like you say, okay, I've got a toddler and a 5-year-old. What can you do for me? They're going to have the kinds of trips that you need to know about that you may not have been able to find on your own just by Googling things on the internet. In addition to that, they can get you all sorts of extras. So I did a calculation at work, and I figured that the average person using the top 10 services that CAA does, and I'm not talking about roadside, and I'm not talking about booking travel, I'm talking about all the other stuff, travel insurance, blah, 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 saves $528 a year, right?
Wow.
So if you have a $30 a year membership, you're saving $528. And that includes going in, I didn't do travel as part of the calculation, but if you use your CAA membership for all of the things that you can get, whether it's dining out or parking at the airport or park and fly, all of that stuff you get a discount for. It all adds up. And then if you're a family on a budget, that's the other thing, is that make sure that you have that budget and then build in your CAA membership usage into it.
So when we're reaching out to CAA, Julie, and we're, thinking about travel, are they sort of restricting us to a certain place, or are they restricting us to a certain type of travel, or is it open to everything? I think about things like Disney or cruises, or is it everything?
Everything, everything is on the table. They book big vacations for, a month at sea for, some of our seniors, and we have group travel. We've got family groups, we've got fly and flops that we call them, right, where you go down south, all of those things. And you just mentioned Disney, but there's also Universal, and they've got their Harry Potter thing going up and running. And I just watched the entire Harry Potter, everything from start to finish over the past couple of weeks. So I'm like, Harry Potter, yes. Yeah. So all of those things are on the table, and it's really, do you really want to spend the time? Do you have the time to go through all those options? Or would you want to go see somebody and say, okay, give me the top 5, and then I'll bring them home to the fam, we'll talk it out, we'll see what appeals the most, and then you can just have someone book it for you.
Oh,
right?
That sounds glorious.
Right, and travel insurance as well.
And travel insurance. And I think people, COVID, do we have to talk about COVID? Well, we'll kind of talk about it.
We kind of do, yeah.
So I think it opened up people's eyes, Julie, to be honest, to travel insurance. I think travel insurance before that was kind of like, okay, well, I might get it or I might not. I think it is a non-negotiable. If I cannot afford travel insurance, I can't afford to travel, in my mind.
Right. So here's the thing. The minute that you step outside of Ontario, there are things that OHIP does not cover if you run into any medical problems. Right, so that's number one. Number two is if you got kids, if you are going to spend any kind of dollars on your trip, make sure that you have travel insurance that's going to cover it. I had to use it last year when a trip got canceled last minute, and I got it all back. It was such a relief, right? Because who can invest like a couple $1,000s to be able to afford to lose it?
Right. What's another travel tip? We have about 30 seconds. What's another travel tip we can walk away with today?
Carry-on luggage.
Yes.
Just stick to carry-on luggage. Tuck and roll. Tuck really tight. We're going to do an episode about packing tiny, and we have special luggage that fits under the seat. It's called under the seat luggage, and it fits a ton in it. And I would say invest in that. That's number one tip. Don't do check bags. You're crazy if you do.
Oh, you see so many people. We have a mutual friend who went to Italy for 3 weeks and had no clothes to wear, and it was very challenging for her. Lots of great advice, as always. Julie Beun, what a pleasure to have you here today on Daytime. Julie Beun, of course, is the Director of Communications and Public Relations for CAA North and East Ontario. She has a fantastic job. We're so happy that she's here today. Listen, we have lots of topics for you today. You're going to want to come back, spend some time with us on Daytime. Of course, Derek Fage is normally in the hot seat. He's going to be back next week. Don't you worry. I'm with you today and tomorrow on Daytime. Stay with us, everyone.